somewhere between science and poetry, between ritual and satire, between a filing cabinet full of impossible paperwork and a mycelial network that runs underneath everything, we find pataphysics. And somewhere between belief, symbol, desire, and the deliberate hacking of your own reality tunnel, we find chaos magic. At first glance, they might look like cousins from different weird family reunions. Pataphysics comes from Alfred Jarry, the absurdist playwright who described it as the science of imaginary solutions. Chaos magic comes from late 20th century occult experimentation from figures like Peter Carroll and Ray Sherwin, who decided that belief itself is a tool, a technology, something you can pick up, use, and put back down. One wears the lab coat of absurdity. The other wears the ritual mask of experimental belief. But underneath the costumes, they share the same engine. Both ask a dangerous question. What happens when imagination becomes operational? What happens when the fake thing works? What happens when the symbol, the joke, the ritual, the fictional institution, the sigil, the meme, begins producing real effects in the mind, in behavior, in culture, and maybe even in probability? That question sits right at the center of what this channel is doing. The Metis Temp agency, the frog CEO, the novelty wave, the Egoform, the crystal path, the whole apparatus of flow against closed systems, these things operate in the zone where fiction, ritual, humor, philosophy, and magic start braiding themselves into something else. Today we're going to name that zone the science of imaginary solutions, the science of symbolic exceptions, the science of applied weirdness. Pataphysics begins with Alfred Jarry, French writer, playwright, cyclist, absurdist, and professional reality wobbler. His play Ubu Roy premiered in 1896. The opening word was, we'll say, finance, and the audience rioted. It was the most deliberately stupid, grotesque, explosive piece of theater Paris had seen, and it blew open doors that led straight to Dada, surrealism, and most of the avant-garde that followed. But Jarry's strangest gift was the concept of pataphysics. He called it the science of imaginary solutions. That sounds funny. It absolutely should. But the joke has teeth. Ordinary science hunts for general laws. Metaphysics asks about underlying principles. Pataphysics asks, what about the exception? What about the anomaly, the deviation, the weird case that refuses to behave, the apple that falls upward in the imagination and reveals something hidden about gravity, habit, and expectation? Pataphysics studies the exception as though the exception reveals the secret architecture of the rule. The rule says, this always happens. The exception replies, does it? And suddenly, the whole machine starts making suspicious noises. Pataphysics loves those noises. It studies the creak in the cosmic office chair, the typo in God's spreadsheet, the footnote that devours the textbook. This leads to one of pataphysics' key concepts, the clinamen, the swerve. The clinamen comes from ancient atomist philosophy. Atoms falling through the void sometimes swerve, unpredictably, for no reason. That tiny deviation makes everything possible. Without the swerve, everything falls parallel forever and nothing ever collides, nothing ever creates. For pataphysics, the swerve becomes almost sacred, and for magic, it's the whole game. A ritual begins with a swerve from ordinary behavior. A sigil begins with a swerve from ordinary language. A magical persona begins with a swerve from ordinary identity. A synchronicity is a swerve from ordinary coincidence. The exception opens the gate. Chaos magic takes a similarly experimental attitude toward belief. Rather than treating one system, one religion, one occult tradition, one philosophy, as the final truth, chaos magic treats all systems as usable interfaces. The chaos magician can work with a demon from a grimoire, a planetary force, a pop culture deity, a dream image, a fictional character from a novel, a sigil, a meme, a sound, or a personally invented symbol. The question stops being, does this correspond to some permanent cosmic truth? And becomes, what does this belief do when applied? What state does it generate? What action does it unlock? What pattern does it disrupt? What buried energy does it release? Chaos magic treats belief like software, costume, solvent, weapon, medicine, and musical instrument, all at once. You install it. You enter it. You charge it. You let it affect perception. You use the results. Then you uninstall it before it starts charging rent. This gives chaos magic a powerful anti-dogmatic character. Any belief can function as a tool. Any tool can become a trap. So the magician needs flexibility, humor, and discipline. Which brings us back to pataphysics. Because pataphysics gives chaos magic one of its best safeguards, absurdity. Magical systems suffer from what you might call guru disease. Someone discovers a method that works, then mistakes the method for universal law, then mistakes themselves for the spokesperson of universal law. Then the living current becomes bureaucracy, doctrine, hierarchy, and spiritual customer service. Pataphysics punctures that inflation. It reminds the magician every grand cosmic system may also function as a puppet show with footnotes. That line doesn't weaken the system, it keeps the system alive. When humor disappears from magic, dogma starts building cubicles. Pataphysics brings the rubber chicken into the temple for spiritual fire safety. Here's the bridge phrase. Pataphysics studies imaginary solutions. Chaos magic applies imaginary solutions. A sigil is an imaginary solution. You take a desire, you compress it. You distort the language into image. You charge that image in a state of gnosis. Then you release it from conscious obsession. You stop gripping it, and something downstream shifts. From a materialist perspective, a doodle. From a psychological perspective, a condensed intention. From a magical perspective, a symbolic machine carrying desire across the threshold between conscious will and deeper patterning. From a pataphysical perspective, an imaginary solution to the problem of linear desire. Instead of stating, "I want this thing," the magician creates an exception, a strange mark, a symbolic compression, a little alien seed planted in the psyche, and the result can change behavior, attention, perception, emotion, confidence, timing, and response to opportunity. The imaginary solution creates real consequences. And here's the part that should unsettle you a little. Human society already runs entirely on imaginary solutions. Money works because enough people agree to treat symbolic tokens as value. Nations work because enough people agree to treat lines on maps as identity and law. Job titles work because imaginary roles organize real behavior. A wedding ring, a passport, a logo, a flag, a diploma. These objects hold power through shared symbolic agreement, not through any intrinsic property of the paper or metal. Chaos magic makes this mechanism conscious. Pataphysics makes it strange enough to see. This brings us to a core Myathe Magick principle. The fake thing that works deserves study. A fictional institution can organize real creativity. The Metis Temp agency begins as a joke, a surreal framing device, an absurdist parody of corporate structure. Then it becomes a ritual container. It generates music, scripts, visuals, slogans, characters, and philosophical language. It gives the imagination an office to report to. The Frog CEO begins as absurd corporate Memphis parody. Then the frog becomes a trickster emblem, carrying ideas about flow, distributed intelligence, mycelial networks, anti-authoritarian organization, the refusal of single point of failure leadership. At that point, the frog has crossed the membrane. The frog functions. Pataphysics explains this as an imaginary institution producing real symbolic results. Chaos magic uses it as a hypersigil, an unfolding fictional system that influences both creator and audience over time. The fiction becomes a machine for transformation. The joke becomes a ritual engine. The mascot becomes a sigil with legs, little frog legs, probably. So how does a chaos magician actually use pataphysics? Here is a method. 5 steps. Step 1. Invent an absurd explanatory frame. For example, today I am not procrastinating. I have been temporarily reassigned to the Department of Temporal Molasses. this sounds ridiculous. That's the point. The phrase changes the texture of the problem. Instead of becoming trapped in shame, the magician creates a fictional diagnostic system. Now, procrastination has a department. The department has procedures. The procedures can be interrupted. Step 2. Create symbolic tools inside that frame. Maybe the department of temporal molasses requires a counterform. Maybe the counterform contains a sigil. The frame generates its own symbols from the inside. Step 3. Perform the symbolic action, stamp the form, burn it, sing it, glitch it into a song, turn it into a fake training video, put it on a candle, make a sticker, make a frog deliver it in corporate language. Step 4. Watch for changes. Does the ritual shift mood? Does the absurdity break the shame loop? Does the symbol help action begin? Does the fictional frame give the psyche room to move? Step 5. Retire, mutate, or compost the system. A living system flows. A dead system demands loyalty. Pataphysical chaos magic should keep moving. Today's imaginary solution can become tomorrow's compost. This connects directly to the Egoform, a concept central to the Myathe Magick System. The Egoform feeds on repetition. It repeats old injuries, inherited scripts, shame, identity statements. Whatever keeps energy locked in a closed circuit. The Egoform loves rigid meaning. It wants the sentence to end the same way every time. I am this. I always fail. People like me cannot do that. This wound owns the future. Chaos magic disrupts this through symbolic intervention. Pataphysics disrupts this through absurd redescription. A pataphysical redescription can turn the prison into a cartoon machine. That may sound silly, but silliness can become an escape hatch. When the psyche laughs at the prison loses some of its sacred terror. The absurd image makes the loop visible, and once the loop becomes visible, the magician can alter it. Imagine naming the pattern, the Assistant Deputy Minister of Self-Sabotage. Now it has a title, a desk. It can receive a memo. It can get fired. Pataphysics invents the bureaucratic monster. Chaos magic issues the termination ritual. Chaos magic often uses gnosis, a focused, intensified state where ordinary mental chatter quiets or overloads. Gnosis can arrive through meditation, exhaustion, dance, chanting, laughter, fear, breath, music, or deep absorption. Pataphysics offers a different route, absurd gnosis. The mind encounters an image too strange to process normally. A frog CEO delivers a PowerPoint about cosmic entropy. A paperclip demon offers productivity tips from the kilopath. A fake HR department assigns you to repair the novelty wave. The rational mind hesitates. That hesitation creates a gap. And inside that gap, symbols can slip past the guards. Absurdity bypasses the hardened ego because the ego prefers familiar conflict. Give the ego an enemy, and it knows what to do. Give the ego a clown with a theorem, and its operating system starts buffering. That buffer is magical space. In the internet age, pataphysics and chaos magic become almost perfectly compatible. Memes already behave like magical symbols. They condense emotion, image, language, humor, identity, and social transmission into compact, contagious forms. A meme can alter mood, spread belief, create group identity, carry political force, mutate faster than doctrine. Chaos magic has always understood this because sigils and memes share symbolic DNA. Pataphysics understands it because the internet runs on imaginary solutions wearing user interface skins. A TikTok format can become a ritual form. A fake commercial can become a spell. A recurring character can become a god form. A channel can become a hypersigil. That last one matters. Myathe Magick operates as more than content. It operates as a long-form magical artwork. Each video adds a symbol. Each song charges the field. Each recurring phrase strengthens the current. Each visual motif builds continuity. Over time, the channel becomes a living symbolic ecosystem. The imaginary solution becomes a habitat. There is a danger here, and it is worth naming directly. Imaginary solutions can liberate. They can also capture. Every symbolic system can become addictive. Every persona can become a prison. Every myth can become propaganda. Every ritual can become compulsion. Every joke can become avoidance. Every egregore can start asking for snacks at 3 a.m. So pataphysical chaos magic requires hygiene. Keep systems temporary when needed. Track results. Notice when a frame creates energy and when it drains it. Notice when humor opens the field and when it's being used to avoid feeling. Notice when belief acts as a tool. Notice when belief starts demanding obedience. The magician should remain able to exit the theater. The actor who cannot remove the mask has a new problem. Pataphysics and chaos magic belong together because both understand something modern culture tries very hard to hide. Reality already runs on imagination. The question is, who gets to imagine it? Corporations, algorithms, governments, trauma patterns, dead institutions, inherited scripts, the Egoform, or instead, conscious creators, magicians, artists, tricksters, people willing to invent better symbolic machines? Pataphysics gives us the absurd theory. Chaos magic gives us the ritual application. Together, a science of imaginary solutions. A science where the exception becomes the doorway, where belief becomes an instrument, where the fake thing can work, where the joke can crack the prison, where a frog with a torch can walk into the ruins of a closed system and say, "Good news, reality accepts revisions."